Well, Hut is safely on his way to Duna, but in the meantime, I should get these new ComSats up and running. Blast off.
Welcome back, guys, to Space Patrol episode number 9. Last time we sent Hut off on his way towards Duna to collect some more funds and some more science via the contract system. And we're not time accelerating anymore, so he is still on his way in that journey. Meanwhile, we are going to set up our second system of ComSats with our new and improved radar dishes and omnidirectional antennas. You can see I've got these long ones already extended. Those are Communitron 32s. They have a range of 5,000 kilometers. That's twice the range of our previous system. So I normally would have liked to have the shroud disconnect on camera because it's nice and dramatic. However, I had another game crash, having them quite frequently, probably 2 or 3 per recording. And sometimes it even eats my recorded footage. I don't know exactly why. That's very strange to me. But I recorded like a 5-minute intro and blew off the shroud. And the game crashed and ate my recorded file. So that's gone. Great. That's fantastic, right? But that's okay. We will just soldier on. Right now I'm turning around. We are in orbit. We have a little bit of fuel left in this fuel tank. And we've extended our orbit up to 750,000 meters, and then I'm just going to try to circularize it. Made a decision last episode not to time accelerate in large chunks anymore. So Hut still has not made his way out of the system. He's right there on his way. It's going to take him, I think, a few hundred days is what it said. 250 to 300, something like that, to get to Duna. So, meanwhile, we're going to be doing other things, and we're going to have multiple missions going at once. These new satellites we're setting up, they will allow us to send a probe all the way to Drace, or inward all the way to Moho, which would be nice. If we get contracts for either of those, we can do that. And the antennas are powerful enough that we'll be able to set up our satellites in a geosynchronous orbit. Geosynchronous being the Kerbal Space Program version of geosynchronous, where you are spinning at the same speed as the planet beneath you, so you're always looking at the same patch of land. And for Kerbin, that height is 2,800 kilometers. Okay, we're getting close to our apoapsis. Let's spin around. How's our electrical charge has dropped to 12,000, and I have not deployed the solar panels. I need to do that. And I need to make sure that when I deploy these guys, they each have enough power to at least deploy their solar panels. Oh, come on, guys, spin. Spinning very slowly. I didn't put any SAS modules on this thing. And I would deploy the solar panels, except that one of them is going to hit the shroud. I'm not sure if there will be collision there, but I don't want to risk it breaking off. Okay, almost there. Let's just go ahead and fire now and let the engine gimbal help us steer. So we're going to bring this up to 750, and if I have a little bit of fuel left, we'll bring it up even more. We're going all the way up to 2,800 kilometers. So it's going to be quite a large orbit. And you can see all of these lines connecting. 750. Okay, now it's even higher. Let's try bringing it up to 1,000. All right, we've brought it up to 1,000, and we still have some left. Tell you what, let's go ahead and deploy some of these solar panels. Just enough to keep my batteries topped off. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this orbit as high as it can go. And then we're going to deploy these guys one at a time like we did with the last system. and slowly expand and synchronize their orbits so that they're linked up in a nice diamond pattern. But we've got 5, so number 5 is going to go in a polar orbit so that we can communicate with things on the North Pole or the South Pole if we decide to send a mission there. Well, the big fuel tank is empty. We managed to get up into an orbit of 1,500 kilometers, and it's time to jettison this guy. Hello, goodbye. And then we can... There we go. All right. There goes that guy. Now we're just left with these 5 guys. Let's go ahead and deploy the solar panels. That's more like it. And then separate the first one. Good. Did he separate? Please separate. Then let's switch to him. Oh. Okay. And... there we go. Just separate ever so gently. We have to go all the way up to an orbit of 2,800 kilometers, 2868.75. So let's go ahead, and we may as well activate our radar dishes. So first one is going to be at active vessel. Activate. And actually, that's all I really need to do right now. The other 2 will be reserved for future missions when we're going to be beaming them at possibly Moho, possibly Drace, maybe even Joule. It'll reach to Joule, but only if we're on the same side of the system. Active vessel activated. Okay. The other 2 not activated. The more you have open and activated, the more drain there's going to be on your electrical charge, which is only really going to be a big deal on the dark side of the planet. All right, 1,700 kilometers. Have to get all the way up to 2680, or 2868, 2868. Remember that number, friends. Rising. We've barely used any fuel. That's good. And for very finicky adjustments of the orbit to get it as precise as possible, I'm going to reduce the thrust limiter. But for right now, let's just get it approximately there. 2868. There, 2668. Never mind. We have 200 more to go. All right, now we're at 2,700 meters. The engine is barely sparking, but we're still moving. Let me throttle up a bit, actually, then. And we still have the vast majority of our fuel tank to allow us to do some fixes to our orbit here and there. All right, 2869. That's pretty close. Let's turn off SAS. That's how high up the orbit's going to be, way out to there. Awesome. So the next thing to do is to switch back to the other guy. Oh, we're too far away. Okay, where is our other ship? Over here. It's more than 2.5 kilometers away. Here we go. Okay. So these guys are going to zoom around about a quarter of an orbit. So let's go ahead and speed up. I'm as long as I'm orbiting a planet and trying to get to a different orbit around a planet, the time accelerate is allowed per like the self-imposed rules, but going between planets, no time acceleration allowed. So there goes Hut Hat right there. He has yet to even escape the system. He's on his way though. And we also need to remember to switch back to him when he gets to out to his periapsis, or out to his apoapsis to circularize. Going to do this 4 times and then send the 5th guy into the polar orbit. Look at this spider's web that we have going. Okay, so I think we can go ahead and deploy one. All right, next guy up. There are no lights on this, by the way. Did one deploy or not? No. There goes one. Okay. And there's some, because they share the same staging. Oh, why is this pointed like this? We want to be pointed towards, Please tell me you have electrical charge. You do. Okay, rotate around and burn prograde. There's no lights because there's not much need. Once these guys are set up, we won't really ever pay attention to them again. And does this engine have any gimbaling at all? Yes, it does. Okay, so that'll help us steer. Alright, well, the apoapses of the 4 equatorial satellites have all been increased to the 2868 range or thereabouts, so time to circularize. Each one in turn. Bring the periapsis up to something fairly close, and then after everything is more or less in its correct place, we will try to get really finicky with it, try to make it nice and specific, so that over the course of time they don't get out of sync too bad. Although the way out here in these big orbits, it'll take a lot longer for them to get out of sync. The higher your orbit is, the slower you're going to move. So it should also follow that the higher the orbit is, the longer it'll take for them to go around and get out of sync. If there's inconsistencies in their different orbits. 2869. All right, that's good. So here's what the network looks like right now. There's the first one expanded out. Oh, never mind. I made a mistake again. That's 26. 26. We have a little bit farther to go. Made that mistake before. Probably won't be the last time. 27. 28. 2840. 2850. 2860. There we go. 2868.7. Good. All right. The other orbit got out of whack a little bit, the other value, but that's fine. Okay, so there's the first one up, and our network is starting to look like a crazy mess. It'll look a little bit better after I've circularized these 4. And then the thing we'd have to do after that is find ComSat E, wherever it is. There it is, ComSat Mark II-E, and put him in a polar orbit. But I'm going to circularize them, and then I guess we'll do the polar thing after that. Alright, next thing to do is to take ComSat E and put him into a polar orbit. I don't think I actually have enough delta V to do this. It says it's going to take 1,800 meters per second. I don't have that much on this vessel. To put it into a 90-degree polar orbit, I might have to launch one by itself at some point with a lot more delta V, or give it a like a second stage to help it along. But we'll just do what we can. We'll do as much as we can, and as long as it allows us to communicate with the poles, I think that'll probably be good enough. If we ever send a probe up there for whatever reason, 45 seconds to burn. If it's going to take our whole fuel tank, we might as well go now. And let's go ahead and turn on one of the dishes. Active vessel. Activates. Good. So while it's doing that, here's what the network looks like so far. Because we launched them into a much larger orbit, they're much closer than I would like them to be. We launched them from the 4 corners of this smaller orbit, but this orbit is obviously going faster. So there's going to need to be some adjustment orbits to get these guys where they need to go. Thankfully, though, we still have the old ComSats to help connect with them, so we're not going to have to worry about line of sight issues when they're on the other side of the planet. We should be all good to go as far as that's concerned. I'll just need to lower it and raise their orbit and just wait, basically, until they're in the proper position, and then try to fine-tune their orbits. HUD hat is beyond the orbit of the moon. And accelerating. Alright, how we doing? You're still here chugging along. You've got a huge fuel tank. Maybe we will have enough to do this. I'm looking at the progress of our mission node here, the burn right here. We've got 1,400 meters per second left to do, and it looks like the yellow bar of our fuel tank and the yellow bar of this maneuver node, they look about the same. Just eyeballing it. And we're slowly raising that, and that will also bring our apoapsis out to about where it needs to be. If we have just a little bit left, we should be able to raise our periapsis without too much trouble. And if he runs out of fuel, he runs out of fuel. He'll just be left there to communicate with all his friends. And if we ever have to get him out of orbit, we might have to research the claw and come pick him up. Wow, this is a long maneuver. Another 4 minutes to go. We're about 1/3 done, and our tanks look like they're more than 1/3 done. Let's actually click on them. Yeah, we're about halfway through our fuel tank, and we're less than halfway through the maneuver nodes, so we will not finish this maneuver. But maybe it'll help. Who knows? Maybe it'll help at some point. If I can at least get him up to where he's circular, maybe I'll stop there, where he's at 1,500 kilometers, 1.5 million meters away from Kerbin. And we're currently at... the periapsis is lowering because we're rising. We're changing the inclination, but it'll get back up. In due course, halfway there. Maneuver node halfway done. Whoa, buddy, careful. Don't wobble too much. And we have about 1/3 of our fuel tanks left. Yeah, we definitely won't make it. Yeah, now the periapsis is raising again. So maybe that'll get us to a circular orbit, and if not, we'll just leave it in an elliptical orbit, and that's fine. We have a ton of satellites. None of them do anything but communicate with each other. Sooner or later, we'll need one as a fuel dump. We're gonna need one with some generators to generate power. We're gonna need more satellites to beam that power around. It's going to get very crowded. Eventually, I will put some like master class satellites when we've researched all the different stuff we'll need for satellites. So we'll have one satellite doing comm stuff and beaming power at the same time. It'll have to be much bigger to fit all of that paraphernalia, because the beamed power stuff, the final version of them is it's quite big and heavy. So it'll have to be bigger. That'll be something we'll do in a future mission. Come on, guys, just run out of fuel already. I got things to do. Periapsis out beyond 600,000 meters. No hope in deorbiting these guys, so let's go ahead and use all this fuel. And just get rid of that maneuver node. Alright, here you go, fella. You're almost done. You did well. Good job. Good job. Turn off SAS. There's our network. Okay, let's watch what happens when we zoom around. Whoa! Look at the designs. Look at the lines all connecting. Oh, we've got a pyramid. They're all connected. And I need to do a lot of corrections on these outer ones to get them in a more or less square orbit. These guys are starting to get out of sync, but they're still all connected. That's going to do it for this episode. Next time, we may send a probe further out. We may go back to Minmus or the moon. We may catch up with Hudhat, who is on his way out of the system towards Duna. Hope you guys are enjoying the series. We'll see you next time for more Space Patrol. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.